Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today you find me out on the Slindon estate. So a couple of weeks ago I filmed a video here at Gumber Farm and tried to visit and do this walk at the same time, but just ran out of daylight with the days getting shorter. Just ran out of daylight. So we're going to do a circular walk. We're going to head up in that direction, take a left, and that should take us up to Nore Folly. Nore Folly is roughly about here on the map, and then we'll head back via this pathway. So some of my subscribers have been asking for circular walks, so we thought we'd introduce this into the channel. Whilst I've got your attention, if you could just tap in the bottom right hand corner, hit the icon there and subscribe to the channel. It will help me to make more content. So we're going to head off in this direction. So right here we come to a crossroads, and we are going to be heading up in that direction. Some great gnarly looking trees here and a little grove of hazel. If you haven't watched last week's video, Slindon Estate used to be the summer grounds for the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Slindon House was his summer palace, and this stayed in his possession for quite some time, but I think it was as recently as sort of 1932 it was handed over to the National Trust, so owned by the National Trust and open for us to use. Just as we're talking, a little deer running across there, so obviously come at the right time of day. Didn't notice this on my last walk, but it looks like there's an old abandoned footpath here. So I'm not sure whether it's meant to be signposted, but it doesn't look like it's been used a huge amount recently. And we've got a couple of trees over here that have been struck by lightning. You can't tell from here because of all of the tree cover and Nore Hill being in the way, but we're quite high up in Sussex here, so quite cold as well. You can probably see there's ice and frost on the ground. It's currently -1 in Sussex today. To the next crossroads, and in this direction heads off to Eartham Woods, and this direction heads back towards the car. So we are going to head in this direction. Always fascinates me when we have these sort of formations in the ground going through the woods. Always makes me think, I wonder what used to be there before the woods and the trees. Could be a pathway, it could be a boundary marker, and we've got quite a large sort of mound here. Maybe it's just me, but I always find it interesting seeing these formations when walking through the woods. Over on this side of the pathway you can see the wood is quite densely packed, and all of these trees have been coppiced, meaning all of the branches at the bottom have been lopped off. This is a common practice to make good timber, and I would imagine that that's the reason all of these trees have been planted in a fairly neat formation. So I've made it to the next set of crossroads, a little bit puffed out because that is a steep hill to climb. We've got more to go, but yeah, another pathway off to Eartham Woods there in that direction, looking towards Chichester. That's the direction we've come in, and we're going to be headed upwards again. So we're not quite there yet, but as I said before, another hill climb. Got my heart racing up to 131 beats per minute, so that's good, isn't it? So another footpath going off in that direction, but it doesn't look like it's been walked very much. And more beech trees with their brown leaves in that direction. And we are headed in this direction. As I was saying to you before, cold day in Sussex today, and we have got ice forming on the puddles. Not very thick ice. So for those of you that don't know, you often find beech trees up on the top of hills, and they like the chalky soil, and they've got a good root structure, so they're good at clinging to the side of the hill. And the most famous group of beech trees in this area being Chanctonbury Ring, planted by Charles Goring, so he could view those from his house in Wiston House. So we're about at the top of the hill now, and there's a fantastic mix of trees up here. As you can probably see, some of them planted in a very straight formation, forming alleyways. Another one over there. Yeah, alleyways all the way across the top of the hill. There's a good mix of these old beech trees up here as well. So we've got the coppiced ones that I've already spoken about, but this one has been left to grow in all shapes and forms. Also, we've got some yew trees up here as well. So often you'll find when they're left like this for a long time, people end up drawing all over the tree, but this one has been left alone by the looks of things. No carvings on this, but a fallen limb. Can't quite see where it's come from, to be honest, but this just goes to show what happens to trees when you get these vines growing up them. And it's the job of the forestry people to come and just trim down these vines, because they completely overwhelm the tree, create too much weight, and then it ends up being toppled over. We can see one over here being strangled again. And I'm going to say that's a mighty oak tree there that's being strangled by that vine. Good luck bringing down an oak tree. I got some more deer in the woods there. So I'm going to head down this path and hope that will take me to the Folly. So as I was alluding to before, always interesting when you see these managed forests where the trees are planted purposefully, and then as you can see there's a whole stack of trees that have been cut down for the landowner or local farmer, but you get these trees within the managed area, like this beech tree in the centre there. And I don't know whether it is the case, and if you are into forestry, it'd be interesting to know if that's the case. But I would imagine that they are put there to seed all of these little ones. You don't want to have to buy your own seeds, but if you've got some older fruit bearing trees or nut bearing trees, you could harvest those and then plant those and keep renewing your forest. So I've come to another crossroads. Don't think Nore Folly is in that direction. I've come from that direction, and just having a quick look on Google Maps, I believe we should be headed straight on. So onwards we go. So just come across a fence line here, and what appears to be a little car park area, and then over here we have a structure on the top of the hills. Comment down below if you know what it is. I'm going to speculate and say that this is probably a water storage area, essentially. Normally it is signposted saying that it's managed by Southern Water, but it's all levelled off, which a lot of these ones do, and then barbed wired off as well. So your imagination runs wild and you think it might be an old Cold War bunker, but in these hills we've got large aquifers under the ground, and these aquifers store water, and then Southern Water will pump that up and then pipe that down to the local villages. But yeah, really opens up as we get to this side. Great views. So here we are, Nore Folly. So not entirely clear to me whether or not the structure was built without the tower on the right hand side or on the left hand side, or whether there was actually meant to be an arch crossing over those two walls. But as you can see, it's made of flint and cement, so not an extremely complex structure, and probably didn't need a huge amount of resources other than manpower to put it up. Reading on the internet, there used to be on the side of it like a lean-to building, and as we can see on this side it almost looks like there's something missing there. So Nore Folly was built in 1814 by the Countess of Newburgh, who at the time was the current owner. She had built it there, and at the time it was a bragging thing to build follies. I don't know whether it's generally around England, but definitely in Sussex we have a lot of properties in Sussex which have follies. There's no purpose to the folly other than it was a nice place for her to sit and have picnics. One of the reasons that it was said that she built it was that after the Napoleonic Wars there was a Great Depression, and in this Great Depression she needed to find work for the local villages, so this generated work and they all gathered together to build the folly. So the woodland behind it just appears very magical. It's all of these small trees planted here mixed in with hazel. Not sure what type of tree that is, but if you do know, comment down below. yeah, lots of sort of undulations in the ground in here, probably from years and years of trees growing and falling over due to the isolation of it being on the hilltop. Almost appears here as if there is a ridge line. Not sure whether that's a natural formation or not. Over to the right, on my last visit to here, I took the wrong pathway and ended up going through these woods and reaching the fence line to the west of Nore Folly, and there is like a defined ridge or boundary that's there, probably from the previous landowner constructing that. This may possibly be that boundary line. There were trees planted on top of the boundary as it went along. So here we have the trig point. If you're into trigs, then this is the number. Over here we can see some abandoned farm equipment. Comment down below if you know what this used to be. So I'm heading back the way I came in. You can go south down the hill from the Folly, which will take you back to the road that drives you into the car park that I parked in. So if you wanted to make this a slightly longer walk, you could do. However, I've decided there's prettier, more interesting walks headed in this direction. So I'm going to head right on back to the end of this path, and then we'll head back down the hill. So I'm back at the end of this long pathway, and what we're going to do is we're going to head back down the hill. So I'm back at the crossroads at the bottom of the hill, and again we're going to head down in this direction. So we've reached the bottom of the hill and come to this little grove at the crossroads. Little mix of beech trees and yew trees, and very beautiful to see the way that the light is coming through the trees at this time of year. We're going to head off in this direction. So a little bit further down this pathway, and we've got all of this lovely bit of woodland, which I think they call Nore Wood, on the northern side of the hill. So this is the footpath that we've just come along. Got some very beautiful woods on the right hand side there. This is the northern side of Nore Hill, and I think it's referred to as Nore Wood. Reached a little set of crossroads here, and this direction takes us back to the car. Just going to take a little detour up here and show you Slindon airfield. Here it is, just a short walk down right next to this large yew tree, and this is just here to commemorate Slindon airfield, which I take it is this small field over here. Now this would not be a great place to take off in an aeroplane, you're probably thinking, because look at all the trees around. Yeah, and a lot of them are old trees. For example, look at this mighty oak here. I mean, that's probably hundreds of years old and would have been here when they were flying out of this airfield. But this airfield was used in World War II, as the plaque says, to launch hot air balloons. There was a hot air balloon station at Polegate, which is over in East Sussex, and this was a substation to Polegate. So somewhere in this field there will be some large concrete bases where they would tether the hot air balloons to, and we're not too far away from the sea. Also with flying in hot air balloons, the updraft created by the hills is also useful to create lift to get the balloons to fly. So they would be filled with helium, launched from here and then sent out to sea looking for German U-boats. So with that done, we'll head back towards the car. So here we are, just coming back to the car, end of the pathway. As you can see, there's a bit of farm work going on here. So hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, as it will help me to make more videos just like this. And if you'd like me to do more circular videos, then comment down below.